Never really planned on doing this, but here's another video. Yep, that's right. Something else broke in the Jeep. Surprise. What is it this time? Let's see if you guys can figure it out. Yesterday went to go start her up and nothing. Don't start. I hear the noise from the fuel pump all priming up. Everything's all going good over here. We're getting power. Everything's got power. But my wipers, my headlights, it's all good. Not even a click though. Nothing when it comes to starting. It's just nothing. Now I actually already fixed this. It actually didn't take all that long, but I'll show you how I diagnosed this, how I figured it out. Yesterday, the Jeep ran just fine. I was actually pulling a trailer. Let's check it out. Yeah, that trailer right there. And everything was fine. But I noticed my temperature gauge went way up to the red, and I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. But over here, the REM says, hey, we're cool. I mean, right now it's like 50, but yesterday it was like 180, 190, just right where a Jeep should be. But this guy was way above the red. I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. But I heard this really loud, like rattling noise. Like I was just driving and I didn't know what it was. It was right after I started the Jeep too. I started it and then immediately you hear this rattling. And at first I'm thinking, well, maybe a clutch disc spring popped out, and then you could just, that's exactly what it sounded like. It's just rattling around in the bell. It was weird. So then today I come out and it don't start. It's a good thing I made it back home, but so what happened here? Let's pop the hood here. Alright, so the hood is up. We're looking around. Nice tight battery cables. Like I said, we got power to run into everything except the starter. Now, obviously, you got to check the starter, make sure it's not soaked in oil, but everything checked out, okay? So, this is actually a really nice culprit here. This is called your starter relay. It's essentially one of these, or one of these. Just throws power down there to the starter. Sometimes the wires will wiggle loose. You just got to check it. It's really easy. It's right up here on top, so you don't have to go digging around too much. And here's a diagram. That way you can kind of see where it goes, the power and all that good stuff. One really cool, easy way of starting your Jeep is to take this top terminal here. You can see it there. Take the top one and run some positive current through it here. And now you have to make sure the key is on, so don't try to start it, but just turn the key on like it's running. But if you have this guy, if you jump this guy into the positive, which is actually right next to it, this big guy here, or just over here, it'll throw power down into the starter and start it up. A lot of people actually talk about wanting it to put a kill switch somewhere. And most people do it over there with the starter resistor, or sorry, the fuel pump resistor. But I think this is actually a better place. This one is just coming from your key, when you turn the key on. If you cut this and put a inline switch, there's your kill switch right there, so no one could ever start it. But it only goes to the starter, which is kind of one of those things where, stick shift, if you turn on the key, and then you just, push it, it'll start, right? Jump start it with the clutch, but this is how you can deactivate the starter itself with this one wire here. Or if you're ever storing it, just unplug it, and then no one will take your Jeep. But that's a good place. Maybe later I'll put in a kill switch or something. That's actually where I think I'd do it, right there. But anyways, I checked here. The relay was fine. The starter looked fine. What I eventually did was I crawled under there and I yanked out the starter itself, because remember, I heard a bunch of rattling and I'm like, what's going on? Maybe the starter gear itself like busted off and it was rattling around, because there was a lot of noise in there, and then temperatures went flying up. I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? Why is it getting so hot? So yeah, I took the starter out, looked at it, and I even actually hooked it up to the battery, you know, and one way you can test the starter, then it should engage. It should turn on, you know, you'll see the little solenoid, it'll pop out, and then it starts spinning. When I plugged it in, nothing happened. So that told me, hey, it's a dead starter. So I think we found a problem. Well, a while back, when I got the starter, I got it from O'Reilly's, and they had a lifetime warranty guarantee type thing on it. So I took it, went in there and said, hey, my starter's broken, and they just gave me a brand new one, slid it right across the table. So yeah, if it breaks again, then I go back in again and do it. Another free starter. It's a really good investment, you know. That there's some things that you can buy from auto stores, you know, like O'Reilly's or AutoZone, things like that. Like clutch discs is kind of a weird one. That they'll actually replace a disc if it wears out, which is, yeah, it's gonna wear. And same thing with brake pads too. That's weird. Starters, alternators, things like that. If you buy the one where it has the lifetime warranty, or, you know, pumps, then yeah, every time it breaks, you just go in and get another one. That's kind of nice if you're in a pinch like I was, where I couldn't start my Jeep. But past 10 years or so owning this, I've replaced the alternator, I think, 3 times, and every time was with that guarantee on it. The starter twice, the clutch twice, and I bought those things like years ago, and it's a lot of fun walking in there and not spending any money. So that's a nice little hack there. Just make sure you're getting some guarantees. Oh, and just so you see here, it's possible to start the Jeep. You know, everything's all back together. Take this wire right here and jump it over to positive, to the red positive terminal, and it'll start right up. That's actually exactly what happens when you turn your key. It just runs positive into, it's the signal wire that goes down to the starter. It just starts it up. I'll show you. The key is on right now, and you just, you know, unplug this guy. This is actually a really good way of testing your unit here to make sure, you know, if you turn the key and nothing happens, but all these are all wired up and good to go, you're like, well, okay, just take this guy. This is your signal, and it goes right to the starter. Now, remember, when you put this on, you're actually engaging it, so it's like you're turning the key. Don't hold this, you know, too long. You just want to hold it just long enough to where it will start, and then let go. Okay, so watch this. Key's on. Let go. If you want to turn it off, grab one of these. It's not as instant as that, but, you know, it gets the job done. It turns it off. So if you're ever in a pinch, you need to turn off the Jeep, or like, oh no, I can't get back it, just yank one of them wires and it turn right off. So yeah, that's a couple of little hacks there. That's how you can test this guy. Make sure your starter relay is still working. I think they're only like $10 at AutoZone or something, but yeah, test that, you know, just follow the chain. That's, you know, if it's not working, it's not clicking, then this is the circle I ran, and it worked just fine. Now back to, you know, how did this happen? Well, after a little bit of thinking, I figured that out. So back in the Jeep. So remember I said, you know, everything was all like, you know, it's really hot, and I didn't really figure it out until after I started looking. When I went to go start, this was really sticky. There's something jammed in it. I think it was some, I don't know, it was sticky. But you know, when you turn it and then it springs back, it didn't spring back all the way. It sprung back like halfway. And so when you turn on the key, you know, everything goes up full. That's what happened. That was still stuck on full. The key was still on. Starter was still engaging, and the flywheel was outrunning the engine, right? And it burned up my starter. And so that's why it's really nice to have a second opinion here. You know, this tell me the temp, was it right now 60 or so, 61? But yeah, it's I was getting this at hot, and this was like normal. I'm like, okay. And so I drove home. I'm really glad I drove straight home. If I would have turned it off, you know, my starter was burned up. I wouldn't have been able to start it again. So especially with the trailer, you know, towing it back. But yeah, that's you know, didn't plan on doing this, but the whole thing took me all of a half an hour from start to finish. You know, I couldn't start it, and I went through the whole diagnosing circle and came right back out to O'Reilly's, came back, installed it, 30 minutes flat. So that's how long it takes you to replace a starter. Yeah, Make sure you, it's the little things, you know, make sure the stupid key doesn't stay on. You know, it's another something. It's always something with the Jeep. All right, that's it. Bye.